Hi everyone, this is Killshot99 Gaming. This is The Walking Dead Season 9, Episode 4 update. Make sure we got everybody here. I think we do. Are we live? Good, good. Had a little bit of a video disconnection there before we even got started. So, exactly what's going on. Everybody can hear me loud and clear. Give me a quick 999. Just want to make sure that we are rocking and rolling tonight. Good, good. Before we get too far into this video, do want to give a super chat shout out from Valar. Hello, 99 Army, Kill, Steph, Kels, Emmy, Sweet Tommy, sponsors, patrons, and of course, all the super chatters. Very, very passionate stream last night. So tonight is going to be our early preview. We're going to have a lot of fun with this. Luckily, the spoilers are not out yet. So, last couple weeks they've been coming out on Monday, and it changed our whole schedule because we like to do predictions and do an analysis of it. So they'll probably be out later tonight or tomorrow, but at least we got a little bit of time. Hopefully they don't come out till Wednesday or Thursday, so then we get a little bit more time with our predictions. What's up, everybody? Thank you. So let me start by just going into last night and explain the rationale behind that, because some people messaged me and said, is everything okay? The stream might have cut off a little bit early, so I think there was an impression that I was upset at someone or something. So it's my job to, sometimes we're going to get people fired up. So if you listen to the stream last night, there was a lot of good open debate, and one thing that I did intentionally, and I wanted to do this to show what the writers are kind of doing, is I called on a few people and read some comments from a few people who are in the streams that I would say typically are the antithesis of what I'm talking about. And I don't want anybody to ever think that our streams are me trying to force feed a theory on you, because I'm not. But, we do kind of keep the flow going a little bit. And I do notice some people who kind of play the devil's advocate a little bit more than I do. And last night I shined a little bit more of a spotlight on that stream, and I think some people weren't ready for that, and it did show that The Walking Dead can be very divisive. It can be divisive personally in our real world, and it can be divisive on the show. So we are winding down. That was kind of what happened, and then as we got toward the end, I went to end the stream, and it might have cut off mid-sentence or something. So anyway, that's a little bit of what happened. Wasn't meant to, dissuade and, get anybody's ideas not included. But sometimes we're going to have those streams, and I wanted to kind of get it out there a little bit early. Tonight is not going to be one of those streams, although I'm sure there's some passion that's out there. So here we go. We're going to talk about Episode 4, The Obliged, and this, we finally get some questions answered with a sneak peek and a couple other things. And we're creating, it seemed like every week we're creating more and more mysteries. So one of the mysteries was the blood on Michonne's arm. So come to find out this week, she's doing a little bit of moonlighting. She is keeping her skills sharp, pun fully intended. She can't sleep, so what's she doing? She's out there taking out some walkers. And she actually had a little bit of walker blood, I guess, left on her arm. We also, I think we're going to answer a couple more questions. And this week's episode, as we've seen, there's going to be a Jadis element to it. There's going to be the epic Rick and Daryl fight. We are going to find out that is going to be a little bit more than them just getting in an argument, than making up. There's going to be a throwdown. And more, we're seeing some of those Comic-Con trailer scenes. So I see King says, 9-9, do you think Negan gets freed to control the Saviors? I think that's a fair question. And I've got a couple thoughts with that, King, is, as you know, the spoiler that was out there, and we don't know that is confirmed. Some people are saying it's not debunked yet. Let me kind of, first of all, I hate the word debunked because I think it's an overused word that people just like to use because they think it's just a cool way of saying it. I think that it's been given pause, but I don't think it's been disproven. There's nothing to disprove that yet. Even Angela Kang saying that we love our Andy, we could play around with time skips. That's not saying that he doesn't die. It's saying that they can play around with time and they may have him back in some other shows. But it does give a little bit of hope. Debunking it would be, we see something visibly provable that Negan does not, that Rick does not die, that somebody doesn't let Negan out, that Negan doesn't take over the sanctuary. So there are other alternatives toward what can happen. The helicopter is still very much in play. Rick dying is still very much in play. Jed killing Rick is still in play. But this week looks more about, now as we get further and further down, then the scope gets much, much more narrow. There's only so many things that can happen in the last 2 episodes of Rick Grimes if he's going to die. Now, I will say that the fact that him and Negan have not, it doesn't look like they're going to have a defining moment, does give me a little bit more hope that maybe Rick does survive it somehow. Because I just sort of have this image visualized that Rick is going to have to hand the baton to Negan. And if he dies, some act that's going to make people accept Negan. Now, if he leaves, it's a different scenario. But there still needs to be something that gets Negan to a level of acceptability. Would you agree with that? That where Negan... Let me ask all the Army this question. We've got a ton of people. Thanks to everybody for being here. Do you feel like Negan is not in a good place of leadership in his current capacity? Not just the fact that he's locked up and he can't do it, but even from a mental and emotional support. I feel like we're just missing something. And I almost feel like we're running out of time and it might be rushed. Like, what's going to happen over the next couple weeks? And there's got to be a lot of stuff that goes down. Some of that could be a Maggie moment. Now, we've seen the fire. The assumption is that Maggie's going to try to burn him in the cell. But is that the only possibility? You know, Maggie has a crowbar. Is it possible, maybe not likely, but is it possible Maggie wants to break him out and take him back to Glenn's grave? Now, remember, and this is why I say this, Daryl looks like he is leading Rick on some wild goose chase and keeping him busy. Maggie said that Negan was going to die at Glenn's grave. And Cindy killed Arat exactly where Arat killed her brother. And Maggie said that Cindy showed me the way. So, this is why I'm good at this. There's no spoilers. But the Cindy thing, where she said, Cindy just showed me the way, it wasn't just about killing. I think it was like, you know what? I got to take him back. Now, I might even do one further. What if Maggie takes Negan back to Glenn's grave and doesn't kill him? Remember a couple of months ago we were doing a live stream, and one of the theories that I put out there was that in order for everybody to accept Negan, Maggie has to be the one to forgive him. She's the one that wants him dead. And I said she will be face to face with him and not be able to finish the job. She won't be able to do it. If Maggie shows Negan mercy, Negan will start the road to change. Think about that for a second. Think about how powerful that could be. And I've always thought of it as Rick's situation. Now, there's some other big Easter eggs that are out there. Jesus is getting letters from Georgie. So, as many of you predicted, I don't have the spoilers on this, but many of you did say that Maggie's open-ended exit would be that she leaves with Georgie. I think the fact that they gave that little bit of an Easter egg and said she's writing letters, I think that's her out. She's leaving. No, Maggie's not dying, but we debated the method of which Maggie would leave. And some people said it could be the helicopter. Some people said, she might just leave and take Pete's exit. But it looks more and more like, if she's getting letters from Georgie, that that's going to be her escape route. And if she frees Negan, and let me just throw this out there because I know it's not really popular, but I'm going to theorize. I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready to make it a bold prediction and just kind of take a stand. Okay, you know what? I'll do it. Here it is. I'm going to take a bold prediction, just take a stand. So somebody's got to say it. Somebody's got to actually have the courage to make this prediction. So this is going to be my prediction. Maggie breaks Negan out, takes him back to Glenn's grave, doesn't kill him, but doesn't want to work with him. Cindy showed her the way. Cindy showed her taking her back, but Rick's bigger picture will win out, and Maggie will say, Rod is dead, and all hell is... Don't quote me on this verbatim, but she'll say something like this. You need to go lead the Saviors and show them a different path. I think she'll let him go. Because I think she understands that now that Arad has been killed, if the Saviors don't have leadership and if the Saviors don't change, everybody, it's just going to be a free-for-all. All right, so there you go. There's my big theory. You like that, Sheila? Does that give you, it gives you chills? You sure it's not because there's just like a whole, cold front coming? Right? So a lot of people are saying that story would be truly amazing. And it doesn't veer too far away from some of the theories we talked about. Now, we talked about, Maggie pointing the gun at Negan and then not being able to do it. Or we talked about maybe Rick taking a bullet for Negan. I don't know that's going to be that complicated. Now, we got some more unfinished business to talk about. The Daryl and Rick fight are setting up the bridge scene. I'm afraid that Rick's going to end up walking. So we got... And I got a super chat. We got Ricky Lutz. It says, keep up the great content. Ricky, thank you so much for the super chat, and thank you more for that comment. Because to me, when I see a comment like that, the content is generated by everybody in the stream. So if everybody agrees with Ricky's super chat, do me a favor and slap the button on the left that has the thumbs up and show a little bit of love for the 999 Army. If you guys agree with that super chat. If you don't, give it a thumbs down and say, Ricky, thanks for the super chat, but we don't agree with it. We're going to dislike this video. But I got a feeling we're going to get a whole lot of likes based on that. So thank you so much. All right, so Rick and Daryl taking a little joyride. I think Daryl's serving as the distraction for Maggie to break Negan out. Daryl and Rick have some words, and it is a throwdown. Now, what is weird about this throwdown is the fact that wherever they're driving, wherever they're fighting, there's like a little embankment. And we saw that embankment, and we thought, at least I thought, I'm not going to say we because not everybody agreed with that, is I thought that was the scene, something happened by the bridge. Maybe Rick fell while they were working on the bridge. But that doesn't appear to be the case. And what is very interesting about this, now keep in mind, Rick only has 2 episodes left. In these last 2 episodes, Rick is going to be walking, and there's a whole lot of blood dripping. We know the boot scene. Rick is going to be down on his knees in front of the bridge. Maggie, Daryl, a whole lot of people are running across that bridge. So I don't think that's this week. I think we can safely say at this point, all those scenes that we're dreading, are going to be in Rick's finale. So it is looking more and more likely the blood on the boots and the bridge scene have something to do with his exit. At least some part of his exit. Maybe not his exact ending, but it's related to it. Well, Shane, I wouldn't be as obvious as to say, of course, because it's not really of course when it could have happened 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago. So as we're winding down, we sort of need to piece it together. John Brody, thank you so much for that super chat. Appreciate that. And it's thanks to the best Walking Dead outside the real. That is some high, high praise. Thank you so much, John. So let's talk about a couple other things that we still have not seen, okay? The motorcycle ride, the fight scene, the rolling in the dirt. Remember when Rick's turned around and he's looking to the left at the bridge? He has dirt on his face. The dirt probably comes from his fight with Daryl. Would you agree? When they kind of do that little tumble and go down, that's... Make sure we're all on the same page here. Marcus Barkley, we see Michonne in the opening minutes killing some walkers, so I think the blood is just a little bit of blood from Michonne's late night walker killing. All right, so Sherry Bentley, I'm not saying that Daryl's responsible for his death. What we're going to do is what we're trying to do is CSI this and piece together the time frames and have a story that makes sense. So Maggie's going to see Negan with a crowbar. Daryl is taking Rick out for a Sunday ride. Daryl and Rick, they get off the bike. When we saw the Comic-Con trailer, we only saw them look at each other. We didn't see them actually fight. But this week, we saw them fight. After the Rick fight, we see several other things. We see blood on Rick's shirt, dirt on Rick's face, and that appears to be the bridge scene. What is interesting, though, and this is where I need your help. You know the picture that I keep showing of Rick looking kind of confused and looking out at the walkers on the street? If you guys are still with me, give me a heads up here. I don't know when that happens. Which means it either happens before Daryl and Rick go on a ride, which doesn't seem likely, or I'm still having a hard time piecing all the time elements together. It looks like Rick and Daryl fight. Rick ends up probably walking back. He could be injured. He appears to be injured. But then Daryl and Maggie and everybody run across the bridge to help out. But the shirt, when Rick is standing there looking at the walkers, is clean, and the shirt where he's at the bridge is bloodied. So, with 2 episodes to go, and a whole lot of the Comic-Con trailers still to be shown, that's a little bit confusing to me. It could, Tracy, it could be 2 different days. I mean, it's not beyond them to do that, but there's just a lot of stuff that's going to go down. I mean, this week we know there's going to be a Jadis situation with a brand new walker, Kate Winslet, because it's a female Winslow. It's probably going to go over a lot of people's heads. But the scene with Father G is going to be important, and how that's going to get broken up. And we still got some saviors out there. So the only part I'm just a little bit confused about is the Rick and the Walker scene. So it would appear that the bridge scene happens this week. That's the only thing I can piece together. And the blood on Rick's shirt might be just a fight with Daryl. That maybe he's not. Maybe he's not shot or stabbed at that point. So I don't know if that is the boot scene after all. I think the bloody boots, I do think that's Rick's final scene. I think he's getting away or something happens with that. But I'm not sure that the bridge is the issue. I feel like Daryl and Rick are going to fight. Daryl's going to leave. Rick's going to walk back. He's going to be followed. They're going to run across, but see, the problem with that is going to be the Maggie. That doesn't support my Maggie theory because Maggie would still be there. So yeah, it's tough. It's missing. How many people are just looking forward to seeing it? Because it seems like we're just missing one piece of the puzzle right now. I'm just so anxious just to see how it goes down. Tracy, it's very confusing. And what I'm doing, I'm just trying to verbalize and visualize several of the streams we put together and some of the images that we've used. So, from the Comic-Con trailer, there's 3 or 4 big images that we've yet to see. And as we see them, we're just kind of checking them off the list. And one of the big images was, why are Rick and Daryl riding on a motorcycle? I mean, that's kind of bothered me the whole season. Like, when is this going to take place, and why? Why are they randomly taking some joyride out? Alyssa, we don't. Episode 6, not at all. Except that we're hearing that's the episode that Maggie leaves. But now that we see Maggie and Daryl walking together, we know how that plays out. We still need to see the fire. Here's the problem that I have with Daryl at this point. And this may not be a very popular opinion. So you can say Rick's view of the world is a little bit naive, maybe. But how Daryl and Maggie are going about things is just pretty deceitful. I mean, this is not the first time Daryl's just taken things into his own hands. He did this with the sanctuary and driving the truck through the sanctuary and kind of going against Rick's plan. And if his sole job here is to lure Rick away so Maggie can break in, this is bad news. Because it's like what we talked about. It's like, when does it stop? When are they just going to come up with a plan and everybody sort of agree with the plan instead of Daryl being a little bit deceitful? And if something bad becomes of this, I am going to have a problem with that decision making. And especially, what if his, master plan is like, hey, Rick, I spotted a couple saviors that were causing trouble. We need to go out there and do it. I mean, what if he just intentionally lies to him to get him to get on the bike? Or, hey, we're going to ride up to the sanctuary and I'm going to help him do this. I mean, I'm really interested to see why they leave and why Rick and Daryl take a motorcycle ride. What are they going to? And all of a sudden, the bike just gets thrown down and there's a fight. If it's Rick's idea and they go out there and something happens, it's a little different story. But it does seem as if they're just trying to manipulate Rick. Deborah, that very well may be. I mean, Rick might figure out what Daryl's doing, and maybe that's why they get off the bike and then fight. And it would make more sense if they get in a fight and Daryl leaves him behind. If Maggie needs to buy time, then that would be kind of a pretty good plan, right? Nikki asked with a super chat. Thank you so much, Nikki. If you got a follow-up question, ask us what you'd like to ask so we can answer your question. I mean, don't you feel like that's kind of what he's doing? Hey, I'm going to take you out here. Oh, by the way, I'll see you in a couple hours. You're walking back. I'm still just very confused, though, with Rick kind of looking out at that herd of walkers. Because I could see everything going down and happening this week and setting it up for next week. Except for the bloody shirt and the dirt on his face. I mean, yeah, he could get dirt on his face twice, but it does appear that that's what happens. Alyssa, I mean, it's a good point. I mean, there hasn't been spoiler follow-up information that said who puts him down or what happens. Just that we see his perspective walking back to the gates of Alexandria as a walker. He is shot by Jed is the spoiler. I could certainly see that happen. But at this point, I could also see a whole bunch of other scenarios. And that's a good thing. It's good that, there's spoiler information out there a couple days ago, and we're very passionate about reporting it. But it's not our spoiler information. I mean, it is a variation of what we've talked about, but it's not, we've given a couple different scenarios. And I don't think we've ever, wholeheartedly went in and said, this is the way we think it's going to go down. I think there's about 3 different scenarios that we talked about, and I think all 3 of them are still somewhat likely. At this point, I would say at least half the people in this stream think Rick's going to die, and at least half still thinks it's going to be open-ended. And that's perfectly fine. It means 50% is going to be wrong. And 50% will be disappointed. Rhonda, I agree with that too. So Rhonda says the bridge scene doesn't look like a man about to die. So let me talk about the bridge scene just for a little bit. From the very start of the Comic-Con trailer, the bridge scene and the bloody boots were thought to be hand in hand. And we've seen videos where people have zoomed in on his face. He's leaning down. It looks like he's hurt. It looks like his side. There's a picture of Michonne or Denai and Lauren and Andy hugging. It looks like he's got a discolored patch on his side. Some people said it's a wrinkle. To me, it looks like a tube where they would have the blood prop showing him bleeding. Those things all look believable for me. But if I just see him kneeling on the bridge, we piece these puzzles together, and you can see 2 or 3 images that maybe are unrelated, and they do this great in the trailers, and you think that it's one scene connected to another scene. But it could also very well be Rick has just walked all the way back from Daryl leaving him, from a fight with Daryl, could be absolutely exhausted and have walkers following him and drop to a knee and everybody runs by. And here's why that is actually probably more believable for the bridge scene. Does anybody stop to help Rick when he's kneeled down at the side of the bridge? It's a rhetorical question. You've seen the trailer 100 times, everybody. So, based on that part alone, I think we might be onto something here. And the blood that we see on Rick's shirt is on his collar. So him and Daryl get in a fight, probably gets hit in the mouth, or he hits Daryl. Maybe they're grappling, maybe even kills a walker. So they go for a ride, they get in a fight, the dirt on the face, the blood on the collar. Daryl hightails it back. Rick has to walk back. He's exhausted. Walkers are following him across the bridge. He takes a knee. Word gets out. Somebody's like, heard. They sound the alarm. Everybody runs out to kill him. They know Rick's not bitten, so they don't stop for Rick. I could very much see that happening this week. And that would also leave open the fact that scene with Rick staring out at the herd and the herd could be the very end. And one more thing we haven't seen yet. We haven't seen the walker up in Rick's face. So it seems more likely that all those images relate to this week's fight. In episode 5, Rick, the herd, the walker in his face, and the bloody boots. Those 4 things relate to his exit. That's the best I can sort it out at this point. And certainly, even without the spoilers, at the end of this week, we have got enough information because we're going to check off 3 or 4 of those scenes next Sunday. And we know what we're left with. So, if it is a whisper, if it's a whisper with really bad teeth, probably not, then that's going to be a weird exit. More than likely, it's a walker. Now, let me say this. Take all the images I just mentioned and let's talk about the images that we're going to have left for episode 5 for Rick's exit. The walker's face, the bloody boots, the herd, and the staring into space. Those 4 things absolutely can still set up a picture for the spoiler that we discussed over the weekend. Because here's the other scene we haven't seen. I'll add a 5th to it. We haven't seen the part where Rick is on the horse leading the walkers away. And according to the spoiler, and according to the way we discussed it, Rick will be taking supplies to the sanctuary with horses. will set the horses free, will be surrounded front and back by walkers, and the angry saviors, and let me say this, the saviors that are, once word gets out that Arad is dead, they're going to be more angry. So Shane Hudson, you're absolutely right. So kind of seems like whatever happens to him happens when he's already on the bridge. He looks left confusingly while kneeling. Shane, he looks like he's looking back at the road that he just came from, and there's a whole bunch of a herd after him, and everybody runs across the bridge and kills him. And the dirt on the face, the blood on the collar, to me says that's after the fight with Daryl. Carrie, he is on a horse. I do think there are multiple horses. I don't think it's a small shipment. I think there's other horses in front of that horse. I could be wrong with that. Like I said, there's small details that are going to come out later on. Drama King, the problem with him getting shot on the bridge is you still got the scene where he's standing looking at the walkers. And the shirt is not completely dirty and bloody. Now, it could be before, but it could definitely be after a couple days go by. Now, let me walk through this just one more time. Not the bridge scene. But we get through the bridge scene this week, and then there's one more episode left, and they're going to hype it up. So, just mentally. And not to prepare you for a death, because I'm not saying it's going to be a death. But because we haven't heard that anybody puts Rick down. This is what we've heard. That in episode 5, Rick will take supplies to the sanctuary on horseback. Rick will be surrounded by a herd. Now, that's still believable because there's a horse and there's a group of walkers following him. We've not seen that scene yet. And it doesn't make sense for us to see it this week. And we still have not seen the scene where Rick's standing on the road looking at the walkers in front of him. So, walkers to the front, walkers to the back. Now, we've not seen anything of Jed popping out of the side of the woods, right? Except for when he did it with Maggie. However, we know that the saviors have left, and we know they're pissed off. And we know they haven't found out about Arad yet. So when they find out about Arad, there's going to be more incentive. So according to the spoilers, the things that we've seen do take place, but they're saying that Jed and Saviors come out and start crossfiring and saying who's going to take out Rick Grimes. And Rick fires back. He's hit. I need you guys to do me a favor, just for a second. Emmy and I will say this again. Think with your head, not with your heart. If he is hit, it doesn't mean he's dead. He's hit. There's two things at this point that we still would not have seen. We've not seen the whisper in Rick's face. Now we're told that Rick sees a vision of Shane yelling to him, "Get up." We still have not seen a filming with John Bernthal. It's confirmed he filmed. So there's still a Shane scene that's going to play out that we're going to see in episode 5. And then, after we've seen the scene of Shane, after we've seen the whisper in his face that is the reason he gets up and decides to fight, we still haven't seen the bloody boots. And the stumbling. And it has to be at this point related. It has to be. Because all those things are not going to come out in this week's episode. So, the spoiler was that Rick is taking this walk and his music's playing and you go through all of these. Doesn't say who's going to kill him and if he's dead. Now, does that mean that we still have not seen one of Jadis' scene where she's talking to... There's another scene of Jadis talking to the people in the helicopter. So maybe Father G is not the one she chooses and Rick is in that state. Maybe Rick does fly away. There's still possibilities. But I don't know if we can say... It's not a question at this point. It's epic, it's not epic. It's a point of what do we know is still going to happen that we've yet to see? So if all those things that I've walked you through is a possibility, give me a quick 999. If there's a part of it that you don't think is a possibility, type it, because I want to see what you're refusing to see that I see. I guess that's the point. Because we do these streams, and sometimes we say, well, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But I'm giving you 4 images that are definitely going to happen before Rick leaves the show. They are no doubtably going to happen. And you can't deny it because it's not there. So whatever, we want to come back with at this point, explain the bloody boots to me, explain the walker in his face, explain riding the horse with the herd away, and explain Rick off his horse looking at a herd. Okay, maybe you can say Jed ain't going to shoot him. Okay, I'll give you that because I haven't seen it yet either. But it's hard to... It's hard. It's impossible for those things not to happen because they haven't happened and we know they have to happen before Rick leaves. And Alex Messon, that's another point. There's several. The fire scene is still in play too. And, that kind of would probably shoot a hole in my, Maggie's going to break Negan out of jail. It would probably be more likely that Maggie's going to try to set him on fire. Alyssa Jett, Jadis and Rick, only 2 to see the chopper. It has to be tied to him or her. Actually, Negan saw the chopper too. Because she was going to send Negan up as a barter. And she did have one of the Winslows out there for Negan as well. It's funny that... Well, let me give you this, because this means something, and this probably means something more. Rick was captured, and he was put in a container that said A, and he was made to fight Winslow. Okay? Negan was tied up, and he was going to be sent away via chopper, and he was going to be bitten by Winslow. Father G is tied up, and he's going to be traded away, and you've guessed it, he's going to have to fight Winslow. So, based on that, if you want to come up with an alternate theory and say, Jadis is sending people away that are freshly bitten by walkers, because Rick would have been, Negan would have been, and Father G would have been. If you want to say Rick might be shot, or Rick might be bitten, or Rick might be about to turn, and Jadis gets him on a helicopter, I'll support that. I'll give you that, because there's 3 instances where it looks like all 3 times she has Winslow there for a reason. What do we think Winslow's for? It's just not some funny game they have. It's not for protection. She's taking these people, she's making them lose to Winslow, and then she's sending them up on helicopter. They want bitten people. They're experimenting with them. They have to be. All right, I got a super chat here. I'm getting fired up tonight. Not as fired up in a different way tonight than last night. But it's all coming together. It's making sense. Crystal Singer Chick says, thank you so much for the super chat. Crystal says, I think Daryl could give Rick a ride because they know Maggie's on her way to Alexandria. Daryl was sitting behind Rick. When he called to tell them to stop her, they get an argument on the way. Yeah, it's definitely a diversion. Delmarva, I can't tell you B is forbidden. See, I don't know. That part, it's just speculation. You know, some people are going to say personality type A, personality type B, blood type A, blood type B. A is alive, B is bitten. But when Jada says to Father G, I thought you were a B, that seems to be some type of personality. And I would agree. I could see aggressive and passive. But regardless, it's not a coincidence that every person she's capturing, I think, is male, and she wants them to fight Winslow. Winslow is related to it. Now, let me circle back to another theory we threw out there. And at the time, it wasn't a very popular theory, but it's starting to get a little bit of traction. I have stated that I think it's possible the people in the helicopter become the Whisperers. Not well liked. I'm not saying it's 100%. But I've argued this point multiple times because it's so much different than the comic. But A and B, alpha, beta, there is an alpha, there is a beta. Military operation gone bad, freshly bitten. There's another time skip. They haven't zoomed in and taken anybody out. Brian, and that's the pushback that I get, is would they be that sophisticated? I don't have a problem with them being that sophisticated because I think when everything goes wrong, they're going to realize the only way to study and to learn is to live among them. I don't think they just like living with the walkers just to live with them. I think they're trying to be a part of them. And right now, I think they're studying them. And I just think as time goes by, it's going to be less about technology and more about getting out there. And remember, you do have another 3.5 years before we're probably even introduced to the Whisperers. I mean, I don't think this helicopter is going to fly around forever. So let me kind of give you another scenario. hold on, because how do the Whispers grow their numbers? Just humor me for a second, everybody, because this has not been my most popular opinion. How do they grow their numbers? Recruit, kidnap, force them in. Isn't Jadis kind of providing them hostages? And if Jadis is doing it, isn't it possible that other people are kidnapping for the Whispers? Jason Mixology, recruit by weakness and personality? So this is why I'm hanging on to this. And a lot of people, oh yeah, it's like a light bulb moment. You don't just grow from nothing to a whole lot of people. So if this is a structured operation and they are giving supplies to get people and kidnap people, so some of those people are going to turn into face masks. Hey, you know what? Send us one of those bitten people and we'll just skin their face off of them and use their face. And then we'll walk amongst them. Or send us some strays. Trade some people out there. I mean, you would think that a group like the Whispers would have this gradual rise to power. So, why couldn't the Whisperers had a helicopter at one point? Doesn't mean they'll have the helicopter forever. Helicopter could crash. It could burn. It could get shot down. They could run out of fuel. They could change their lifestyle. But we've got 3.5 years for them to build up their numbers. So if what Jadis is doing is actually helping contribute to the Whisperer War, I think that would be a bit of irony as well. And if we see that a little bit later on, A, B, alpha, beta. Just saying, you don't have to agree with it, just store it over there. Because if it becomes something, I just want to know that we talked about it in advance. Julie McGuire with the super chat says, I don't want Rick to die. If he does, we've never seen it. Starting to die, turn his POV. That would be epic, tragic. Opening credits, long finger, walking back, grave near Carl. Julie, no doubt about it. We've probably done 3 streams where we discussed that possibility. And look, I know it's a bunch of random stuff out there because this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with Maggie probably leaving to join Georgie. We're dealing with Rick and the last 2 episodes and how these episodes play out. And yes, the opening credits, the walker walking back, which with the blue eyes even, could definitely be Rick Grimes in the opening credits. There's a lot of visual stuff telling us that Rick is that walker, that Rick is that person that's walking back and stopped in front of the windmill. I know we're going to fight it, but there's a lot of things that come out this week that just continue to push it. And I fully agree with you. The Whisperers will become savages. They will kill. But the Whisperers were always something before they were the Whisperers. Even before they were a cult. Even though they were before a group. And I don't know that you need to take that comic line and say, they were... We know what type of cult they were. But why not give them a little bit more decency in the beginning? Why not give them the same fight that everybody else went through? Why not say that they became savages and they were killers, they were mercenaries, that there's a band of them, and they devolved. And they were kidnapping, and they were doing experiments. We got Steel Driving Crew says, this just dawned on me, is it possible that Rick dies and a certain site hasn't leaked it out of respect or threats of legal action from AMC. Well, let me say that Steel Driving Crew, if anyone knows the outcome at this point, it's the Spoiling Dead's fan page. So, is it possible that they know the ending? Yes. Is it possible that they're not sharing the Rick exit because of legal? No. Here's the way it works, okay? The Spoiling Dead's fan page likes to give you a small bite of the candy bar. If they give you the whole candy bar, then you don't really need to go back and take another bite next week, right? So you're going to get the spoiler this week, and you're going to get the information as it needs to be released. That's my thought. I think they know, but I don't think it's anything legal at this point, because spoilers are spoilers. People have a right to talk about them. And Casey, I would even disagree with you there, only slightly. I don't think they're helping The Walking Dead by not revealing. I think the people are going to watch regardless. I'm not saying, they're bad. I'm just saying they're helping themselves. I think they want people to keep coming back to their site. They want them to keep the dialogue. They want them to keep checking. They want them to keep making donations. And if they give this massive reveal, then less people will be at the site next week. I mean, it's good business. June Smith, speechless, not looking forward to November 4th. And with that being said, I've got absolutely nothing against them. I think they're a great group of people. I think, hey, Shiny Firefly, awesome chick. But business is business. So I don't come down on them the way they run their business. Hopefully they don't come down on me the way we run our business. But I will say, I think our predictions are pretty close. I don't feel like we fully nailed it just yet. But if this happens this way, I do want to say this at this point. I'm not sure if I hope it does or it doesn't, because I really want it to be open-ended. If the Rick transformation happens in first-person perspective, and we have to kind of live through that transition for about 5 minutes or so and everything, I will say you heard it here first. Because I remember the stream and discussing it, and it was a very kind of somber, light just dawned and chilling kind of stream that we did that night. And it felt epic, and it felt different to kind of go through that scenario of how it could play out. And if it does play out, I just think that would be pretty amazing that we sort of talk through it. That's the way I would have wrote it. Gamma, it's a bet. There's like multiple people out there. I know it's a small percentage, but I don't think, as you guys might know this better than me. Am I the only person out there, those of you that watch other videos, that's saying that the helicopter could be related to the Whispers? Because that's a bold prediction, and I don't mind being wrong on it. But has anybody else even discussed that? Like Alpha, Beta, A, B, they're kidnapping people, and that's what they do. and the time skip. I mean, it's definitely bizarre. I mean, it's out there, but hey, sometimes we got to throw out some bizarre predictions. Well, drama, here's what another thing that would lead me to believe that those helicopter people are involved in the whispers. I don't think they're the Commonwealth. I think Georgie is tied in with the Commonwealth, and I think that's going to be Maggie's big comeback. And I would just be shocked if the helicopter people are just another group that's out there, because then you'd have the Whispers, you'd have the Commonwealth, and then you'd have another group that's out there, which that's going to be a hard one to explain. And the fact that, Jadis and her group were kind of living sort of like semi-savages anyway. There's almost like normal living and then, a little bit of regression and then there's going to be the ultimate in regression, like what the Whispers become. And I think they're learning. I think they're observing and they're learning from it. But we'll wait and see how it all plays out. So we have just hit an hour and 1 minute. I want to thank everybody for being here. Very exciting episode coming up this week. And throughout the week, we will be back here 9:30 tomorrow night. We are going to break down the Comic-Con trailer a couple times this week, and we're going to actually have some images up there and dig down into a little bit further. Did want to get the preview for tonight. This is our very early preview, so thank you for participating in this, for everybody's involved in it. Amazing chat. Much, much more passionate these last couple weeks. You guys are absolutely amazing. I think we got some good theories. Keep in mind, if you're watching the playback, listen closely to the middle of the stream, because the fight between Rick and Daryl, I think, is really the visual that we needed to sort of piece the last few events together and find out how this week's episode is going to play out and next week. Once the spoilers come out, if they come out tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever, we will have a spoiler stream as well. And what we'll do is we'll tie in what we talked about tonight to the spoiler. I really like when they don't come out on Mondays, because everything in tonight's stream is all of our predictions. And that's, that's what we're about. That's kind of the core of who we are. And then we sort of take that information and either check it off like, hey, we're right, we're wrong. If you guys had a great time, once again, do me a favor, slap that like button. If you're watching the playback, like I said, we're just going to do the shout-outs at this point. So I want to say thank you to all the Patreons up there in the top left corner. Also, all the sponsors over in the top right corner. Moderators, Emmy, Steph, Tommy, Kells, and we had several super chatters tonight, so I want to thank them for their contribution and freezing their chat so we get a chance to talk about some other stuff. So we got Villar, Ricky Lutz, John Brody, Marcus Barkley, Alyssa Jett with several super chats, Nikki S., Shane Hudson, Crystal the Singer Chick Gore, Julie McGuire, and Steel Driving Crew, and also June Smith. Thank you. Appreciate each and every one of you guys are absolutely awesome. And everybody else, do me a big favor. Give me some 999 up in the chat. If you guys are proud members of the 999 Army, if you like what we do, if you're here at least every other night and watching the playback, if you're going to be a long-time Walking Dead fan, even after Rick's exit, if you're going to be right here with us, then let me do a few shout-outs for all of you. So we got Chris Riddle, we got Julia Muse, Anna Smith, Sheila Mack, Kimberly G, Michelle M, Coma Drug, Madam Traber, Jose Ramirez Jr., Star Guitar Goddess, Brian Moore, Deborah Cox, Laura Brown, Kimberly Smith, Casey F., Joe Robb, Tommy V, Hilda Pineda, Dorothy Martin, Freeland 256, Nicholas Scott, Mr. Coas 316, Alyssa Jett, Loco versus the World, Kevin Stover, Ziglet, Sam B. Thank you, June Smith. That's a lot of nines. Appreciate that. Madison Dickey. Thank you, 999. Love to you, mod sponsors, Patreons. Whole lot of hearts there. Thank you so much. Kathy Merritt, Deborah Johnson, Rodney Ivy, thank you. Samantha Coombs, Gina Crockett, Maggie B, Beast Bear, Randy West. Got my eyes on you, Randy. Keeping you honest in my streams. Just saying. DDA Ohio, Hippo, RJ Guerrero, thank you. Tracy Dees, thank you. Appreciate, thanks for making the chat awesome, and thanks for being involved in our theories. Delmarva 1971, iRock6, Angus Johnson, good to see Angus. Angus been around a while. Angus, you've been around since like Empires and Allies. High Speed Dirt, Colleen Hayes, thank you. Bumblebee Brown, thank you, B Squared. Razor 4 Gaming. Newfield 12. One thing I'll tell you guys is we're about to hit 80,000 subscribers, and every time I see you guys type a 999 or I see somebody's face, I don't know, maybe I just have this, I don't think it's a photographic memory, but I got an amazing group of subscribers. You guys are just absolutely incredible. The people that have been here from the gaming tutorials, from Empires and Allies to Dawn of Titans to Walking Dead Road to Survival to The Walking Dead. I mean, everything that we've done, just unbelievable support. Arthurine James, I am, no doubt, I am the most blessed YouTube personality you'll ever find, because some of the videos we did early on and the support and how the channel's evolved, just unbelievable. Thank you so much for everything that you guys do. All right, we're going to wind this thing down. I will see everybody tomorrow night at 9:30. Be there. One last request. I ask this every time. Once this video goes live, you don't have to watch the whole playback. Just check out a couple of the comments and comment to a couple people, because we got like Robin, a few other people that they don't get a chance to watch it live, or if we got people overseas, they can't watch it live. So they'll be watching your comments and they'll chime in from time to time. So just help them out. Respond to some of their comments. Maisha Holmes, thank you for being here. Jake Patrick, thank you so much. Jennifer Flaherty. Ron Burgundy Moore. Vulgar Display of Power. Unbelievable. All right, everybody. I will see you tomorrow at 9:30. Think about these theories. Dream on it. And then we'll talk about it tomorrow. Or come up with a better one and we'll talk about your theory tomorrow night too. Thanks, everybody. Peace.